Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. I've got another Gizmo Sunday, this time from Fracture Sounds, Soft String Soloists, a collection of three beautifully recorded individual bowed strings, violin, viola, and cello. It incorporates their new legato, their smart legato that premiered in the soft brass recently. It has a number of articulations, all oriented towards the more delicate side of string playing, and it's terrific for scoring and underscoring, supporting other parts, I think. I'm going to play a few pieces in a very exposed setting. Well, let's dive in. So we're looking at the GUI for a soft string soloist, and I've got viola up in front of us. I have the legato patch selected. I have in smart legato the latency turned down, and the dynamic range pumped up a little bit. So stereo width is a little bit wider than the suggestion, and I have reverb turned all the way down. I'm using my own reverb, just so you know. Well, the sound of this instrument is very convincing. I love how the velocity of the note controls the portamento speed. Across the top, we have color controls, which will give you a much more breathy, airy sound. A lot more string noise there, right? Or a more muted sound that sits well in mixes. Stereo width is turned up a little bit just because I like the sound, but if you look down below here, instrument placement gives us a number of controls, including just how it's recorded in situ, and we can also use their impulse response array to place it anywhere within the field. Let's put it over there on the left. Very realistically placed to the left. And up here in the mic perspectives, we can set it quite close to us, or push it all the way back to the back of the room just using the microphone. Well, let's put it all the way over. Just using the microphones in the back of the hall. This perspective slider is just so useful. Well, listen, I promised a number of pieces to listen to, and I want you to know what you're going to be hearing. Mostly, for the first one, I've used legato, but I've also flipped over and dropped in some of these false harmonics. Listen to the airiness of the harmonics. Beautiful effect. It sounds great in cello as well. And for the cello sound, I also used some short gestures. Now, typically in string libraries, we would get, sort of dig in type shorts, staccatos, and marcatos, but not in this one. We've got short gestures. We've got sustains that begin and end slowly. I let go and it sort of tails off, as well as medium, long, and short swells. The sustain patch is useful. I can play two notes at once. Pretty nice. That's a third that would be hard to play on viola just for you guys scoring at home. Listen, let's get into a few pieces. I'm going to take the latency back up to 300, turn on the delay continuous controller data, and look over at my side info panel and notice this. I have delayed this track by negative 300 milliseconds, right? So basically it needs to be ahead of the beat by 300 milliseconds to compensate for this fixed smart legato latency. And I have to say, that's incredibly useful because what that means is I can quantize my parts so that they're right on the grid. I can see right where it is. I can control tempo that way. It's excellent for scoring. Well, it's just Thanksgiving here in the States. I thought I would pull out the old Shaker song, Simple Gifts. Not a bad performance, not entirely convincing. Sometimes I hear pitch problems with the legato, and you can control that by fiddling with velocity. The speed of the portamento in the legato makes a difference. I used harmonics, and I used the short gesture in the cello to give my bass line, when it lifts up at the bridge, a little more aggressive texture. This is probably my favorite moment in the arrangement right here. That was lovely, wasn't it? The cello, the viola has a gorgeous range. The violin, I think the tone color should be turned down a little bit, if I'm honest, just to make things a little more listenable. Let's go on to a second arrangement. I was wondering just how aggressive I could get with this sound. And the answer is not very aggressive, but listen to this double Tresillo. Doubled with piano, that sounds pretty good. And what I've done here with these instruments, and let's just take a look at them, just maybe take a look at the cello really quickly. So this cello, the whole thing was the short gesture. I've used key switches to change things as I go, and that means I can have this one instance of soft string soloists, and as I needed in the arrangement, switch from legato to sustain, swells, or short gestures. Well, I was also curious what it would be like to have all false harmonics. This is something you hear in contemporary music a lot. It's a very cinematic sound. And of course, with the harmonics, we can play polyphonically, just like the sustains. I have one last piece to listen to. In this last piece, it's long, slow swells. And the patch is doing most of the work. Lovely. Well, as it happens, Fracture Sounds is doing lots of Black Friday promotions right now. Great discounts across the range of their instruments as well as bundles. I guess you guys know I use all their stuff in my work. I particularly like these types of sample libraries for my scoring to theater and smaller picture, because I'm not using giant cinematic orchestral sounds very often. Most of my work is focused on intimate and detailed writing to go with smaller narrative work. Instrumental sounds like this, which feel like I'm right up with the instrumentalist, that feel expressive and close, right in my face, so to speak, are really useful for me. Good work, guys. As always, yay, Fracture Sounds. Listen, I hope this was useful. Like and subscribe and ding the bell to be notified when I do my videos. And I'll see you next time.